Before factories and machines, most people in England lived in the countryside. They worked on farms or made goods by hand at home. Life was slow and production was limited. But in the late 18th century, England entered a period of rapid change known as the Industrial Revolution. This transformation changed how people worked, where they lived, and how society was organized. The effects of this revolution are still visible today in our cities, industries, and modern lifestyles. The Industrial Revolution was a shift from manual production to machine-based manufacturing. Instead of small workshops, large factories were built. Power sources changed from human and animal energy to water power and steam engines. This allowed goods to be produced faster, cheaper, and in much larger quantities. England had several advantages that made industrialization possible. First, natural resources. England had large supplies of coal and iron, essential for powering machines and building factories. Second, the agricultural revolution. New farming tools and methods increased food production. As a result, fewer workers were needed on farms, so many moved to cities looking for work. Third, money and trade. England had strong banks, wealthy investors, and global trade routes through its empire. This provided capital to fund factories and new inventions. Finally, England had political stability, which encouraged innovation and business growth. One of the most important inventions was the steam engine, improved by James Watt. Steam power allowed factories to operate anywhere, not just near rivers. In the textile industry, machines such as the spinning jenny, the water frame, and the power loom dramatically increased cloth production. Cities like Manchester became major textile centers. Another major change was railways. Steam-powered trains connected cities, reduced travel time, and helped businesses grow. The Industrial Revolution completely changed work. People now worked in factories instead of at home. Working hours were long, often 12 to 16 hours a day. Factories were dangerous, accidents were common, and safety laws did not exist at first. Child labor was also widespread. Children worked in mines and factories because they were cheap and easy to control. Despite these hardships, England's economy grew rapidly. By the 19th century, England became the world's leading industrial nation. When factories began rising across England, millions of people left their villages behind. The countryside could no longer feed them. Machines were producing goods faster and cheaper than human hands ever could. People moved to cities like Manchester, Birmingham, and London. Manchester became known as Cottonopolis, the heart of the textile industry. But this growth came at a terrible cost. In the 1830s, a visitor to Manchester described streets so crowded and dirty that sunlight barely reached the ground. Families lived in cellars beneath buildings. These underground rooms were damp, cold, and full of rats. One government report found that in some areas of Manchester, more than half the children died before the age of 5. The cholera disaster. In 1832, cholera struck England. In the industrial slums of London and Manchester, people drank water from wells contaminated by human waste. When cholera entered these water sources, it spread like wildfire. In one London neighborhood, over 7,000 people died in just weeks. One doctor, John Snow, began to investigate. He noticed that nearly all the victims drank water from the same public pump on Broad Street. When he had the pump handle removed, the deaths stopped. This discovery changed public health forever. It proved that dirty water, not bad air, was killing people. This led to major reforms in city sanitation. Children in the factories. One of the most heartbreaking stories came from factory children. In 1833, a young girl named Elizabeth Bentley testified before Parliament. She worked in a textile mill from the age of 6. She described working from 5 a.m. until 9 p.m. Her job was to clean machines while they were still running. She was often beaten when she became tired. Her testimony shocked the nation. It helped lead to the Factory Act of 1833, which limited child labor and required factory inspections. The Luddites. In 1811, skilled textile workers in Nottingham and Yorkshire began destroying new machines that replaced their jobs. They called themselves Luddites, named after a man called Ned Ludd, a symbol of resistance. One night, hundreds of Luddites attacked a mill in Yorkshire. They smashed weaving machines worth thousands of pounds. The government responded by sending 12,000 soldiers, more than were fighting Napoleon at the time. Many Luddites were arrested. Some were executed or sent to Australia. But their message was clear. Industrialization without justice would not be accepted. The fight for better lives. Writers like Charles Dickens began exposing the cruelty of industrial life. His novels showed hungry children, polluted cities, and suffering workers. Reformers like Edwin Chadwick proved that dirty cities cause disease. His reports led to the Public Health Act of 1848, which forced cities to clean streets and provide sewage systems. Slowly, England changed. Clean water systems were installed. Slums were rebuilt. Schools were opened. Working hours were reduced. Life was still hard, but it was no longer hopeless. By the middle of the 1800s, England's cities began to change. The dark, deadly slums of the early Industrial Revolution slowly gave way to something new. Not perfect, but better. After decades of suffering, disease, and protest, the government was forced to act. Sewage systems were built under the streets. Clean water flowed into homes. Garbage was collected instead of thrown into the road. The deadly cholera outbreaks that once wiped out entire neighborhoods began to disappear. Streets became wider. Public parks were created so people could breathe fresh air. Gas lamps lit the nights, making cities safer. For the first time, cities were designed not just for factories, but for people. Education changed everything. Instead of sending children to work at 5 or 6 years old, more and more were sent to school. They learned to read, write, and think. This created a new generation, not just workers, but citizens. Factory workers also began organizing. They formed trade unions. They demanded fair wages, safer conditions, and shorter hours. Slowly, the balance of power shifted. The working class was no longer silent. Middle-class reformers and workers began pushing together for change. They believed that a strong country needed healthy, educated people. By the late 1800s, England's cities were no longer just places of survival. They became centers of culture, learning, and innovation. Libraries opened. Public transport expanded. Newspapers spread ideas. Urban life created new opportunities, especially for women and the poor. A person born in a factory slum could now become a teacher, a writer, or a professional. The modern city was born, a place of industry, but also of dreams. The Industrial Revolution had begun with smoke and suffering, but it ended by creating the world we recognize today. The world of streets, schools, workers' rights, and opportunity. This was the new urban world. After the 18th century, London became the heart of industrial England. The city swelled as workers poured in from the countryside, looking for jobs in factories, docks, and workshops. But rapid growth brought chaos. Narrow streets overflowed with people, waste and sewage ran in the open, polluting the air and water. Disease spread quickly, and epidemics like cholera struck without mercy. By the 1830s, the city was a place of stark contrasts. Wealthy merchants and industrialists lived in comfort, while families crowded into dark, damp basements. Children worked long hours in factories and workshops, often beaten when they slowed down. Yet this hardship sparked change. Doctors, like John Snow, studied the deadly cholera outbreaks and discovered their cause: contaminated water. His work led to new public health measures, and slowly, London began to clean itself. Sewers were built, fresh water reached homes, and garbage was collected. Streets became wider, parks were created, and gas lamps lit the night. For the first time, London was not just a city of industry, it was a city for people. Education and reform transformed the population. Children went to school instead of factories. Workers organized into unions, demanding safer conditions, fair pay, and shorter hours. By the late 19th century, London had begun to evolve into a modern metropolis. Libraries opened, transport networks expanded, and opportunities grew for ordinary people. A child born in the poorest district could now dream of becoming a professional, a teacher, or a writer. From the chaos and smoke of the industrial age, London emerged as a city of resilience, innovation, and hope. Its streets, schools, and parks became the blueprint for modern urban life, a world where people, not machines, were at the center.